Blacksmith community, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy, or it's your man rather, Big Bro Chris, coming in live in this new year of ours. Welcome you back into the Bronze Room. You know, as always, I'm joined by my great co-host, Miss Joy.
Happy New Year to you. Happy
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year to you.
Let me
Hey,
stop. I don't even look. I don't even give a damn about no New Year.
I
The
don't
New Year. But
know.
yes, we have Blacksmiths. We have stepped in to 2023. We are here. I'm happy that you're here with us. You made it.
Yes, yes. And then we also have none other than LGZ.
What up, Blacksmiths? Happy New Year. Whether you follow the Gregorian calendar or the Smithsonian calendar, good to be back. How y'all doing?
Yeah. We're
Good.
back. We're back. I know it's been a long hiatus that we've taken since the holiday season kicked in. Um, but yeah, how was it for you guys? Did you guys have a good holiday season, good Christmas, good New Year, whatever, etc.?
I just take it for the free days off and the fake holiday cheer,
Okay.
everyone being nice for 3 weeks, it's
Yeah,
cute.
yeah,
That's
Hi,
my favorite
happy
part
holiday.
about it. Everybody being cool with each other. Even if we got to fake
Right.
it. I love that. Show me the fake love. You know what I mean? I'm not saying
Right. People be so sweet. They be giving you extra blessings and holiday cheer.
yeah.
See my family.
The
It was
holiday
nice.
cheer. The holiday cheer is something to look forward to for sure. Everybody's in a better mood, definitely, especially in this dark ass winter that we're
Tell
in.
me about
Yeah,
it. Ugh.
it's good to introduce a little bit of light into the darkness and cold bitterness.
Not to get sidetracked, but and I actually kind of figured this anyway, but like spring solstice is really the new year.
Yeah,
That's when
100%.
everything blossoms, when
Yeah.
everything grows. And they even talk about it like no matter what religion you talk about, it's a resurrection during that time.
Mhm.
So this winter
Yep.
period, that's the period of hibernation. Like when you're supposed to just be planting everything, letting everything just stay low key, just marinate, whatever, harvest, so that it can blossom during the real new year, which is spring. And I
Yeah,
think like the Chinese New Year is actually, I mean, not that we Chinese, but they celebrate theirs in February.
yeah,
So,
yeah, which is a little closer to the mark. I don't know this for sure, but I would guess that since we know that the Ethiopian calendar is completely different than this
mm,
Gregorian one, I would
mhm.
imagine that they probably celebrate their New Year sometime in the true beginning of the season or the true beginning of the rotation around the sun during the spring.
Right. Their asses are in tune. Like they're
how about
feeling, you know
you?
what I mean? Like connected, got that sun, giving that download. I would love to know more about their year too. We know
Yeah,
this one is just, we know this one offsets our natural rhythm. We already know.
yeah.
So,
I was listening to a 19 Keys interview, and he was interviewing like a
mm,
numerologist, and homie was saying that like, yeah, don't make New Year's resolutions in a time of death and
mm,
sickness, like the winter. Don't that's doesn't make sense. So
mm.
you know,
Hey,
just little things to think about.
Yeah.
We've all been conditioned to think one way, and if you're coming from a perspective like my own, I think that's intentional. But yeah, once you start to come into knowledge, you can start to operate differently. Yeah, the world celebrates New Year's during this period, but you can celebrate as an individual the New Year whenever you want to. You know what I mean?
Right. Your birthday. I was just telling somebody that I was like, I celebrate that like my birthday, or like, I don't know, like in March, like I said, have my own party or whatever and
Right.
celebrate that. I feel like it's more of a feeling you know, of a natural feeling of knowing that that rebirth is there. You know, I need all these fake gym rats to get out the gym, taking up my machines. Like, y'all only gonna be here for 2 weeks. Hurry up.
Yeah. Just give it 2
Hurry
weeks.
up.
Give it
Get
2 weeks, and that
out.
motherfucker will be empty again.
You know, you on my Smith machine. I'm like trying to get right for the summer. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Just wait it out.
yeah,
Wait it out a little bit.
yeah, you
But,
know.
It'll be yours
but
again.
yeah. You know, we have a few or one event that happened today on this day. You know,
I got one I
and
want to add to actually after
oh,
you.
do you? Okay,
Yeah, I
yeah.
do. Yeah.
So, well, on this day, a great man, George Washington Carver, passed away into the upper room. George Washington Carver was a great man. He was born in 1864,
Mm,
but he died on this day, January 5th, 1943. He was an agricultural scientist
wow.
who came to prominence um, specifically for inventing 105 recipes and uses for the peanut. Um, and specifically, he was credited for coming up with farming techniques to
Mm,
help reduce soil depletion. You know, especially back then in the 1800s, agriculture was probably the biggest industry in the country and probably around the world at that. Farming
yeah.
was the bread and butter of a country, and
Yeah.
so you know, preventing soil depletion from happening, especially when you're when you're planting and replanting cotton, which was the main cash crop back then. It depleted the soil, you know what I mean? But he created a technique where you could rotate, you know, on a given plot of land in order to preserve the soil. And
Mm,
and yeah, I learned about that like in fourth grade, not about him specifically coming up with that technique. They didn't give him credit, at least in my class.
of
But yeah,
course.
it's called crop rotation, where
Wow.
you might plant cotton here one season, but the next season you plant corn or you plant, you know, tobacco or something else. Because if you replant the same crop on the same plot of land over and over again, it just depletes the soil. So you got to rotate your crops every
Mm,
season. And he came up with that technique.
oh.
He came up
Damn, well, you just dropped some gems right there. I mean, that's so wow. Which when in not depleting the soil, you're also not depleting the nutrients of the soil,
100%.
which is
Exactly.
really important in order
Exactly.
to harvest a good crop. So I mean, talk about agricultural scientists. That
Hmm.
is so amazing. You know what I mean? And you know they didn't stole a whole bunch of these ideas and they got them on Betty Crocker. Betty Crocker's fucking famous peanut chicken marinade. Like, stop it. She
Yeah.
got that from him.
Yep.
But
Yep. Yep.
to
Yep.
be to have that trade and you know he was you know to have all those recipes and all that he was tapped in. I feel like to be a farmer, you have to be tapped in metaphysically to the plant. You know what I'm saying? To feel into it, to know what its needs are. So to be able to come up with that, who would ever know that? That you rotate the crops.
Hmm. Yeah. Right.
Really?
And this man was in
Y'all hear
tune.
that? Any what is it? Aspiring black farmers, because we need more out there. You know what I'm saying? Listen, it's
One
in our
thousand.
blood.
1000%. We,
Wow.
we come from the soil. You know what I mean?
Oh, and
Uh,
all they try to give him credit for is making peanut butter. He made peanut butter. Bitches. No,
right.
he did more than make peanut butter. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, he was instrumental in the black community because he was able to promote the farming of other crops outside of cotton back then. You know, especially doing like
Mm.
sharecropping and whatnot, where that was the main focus. But he was encouraging black farmers to invest in planting peanuts and sweet potatoes and
Wow.
other foods that would improve their quality of life. So. he was that dude back then. He also went on to become president of Tuskegee University. He was the first
Wow.
president of Tuskegee University in 1897.
What an incredible person.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well, it's amazing to acknowledge such greatness, because that means that that's in our DNA, you
Oh
know.
yeah, 1000%.
Wow.
1000%. That's
That's
why we need to
amazing.
be, especially for our youth, we need to encourage and promote these figures to our youth so that they can know what their potential is.
Yeah, and acknowledge these type of things in our history, you know what I'm saying? These people, I feel like I love acknowledging these type of things, because when we don't forget them, then it reminds us of where we came from. So then we're reminded subconsciously of where we're going. A
Yep.
lot of us, I feel like we feel lost, and that's because we have like no sense of identity to anything. So it's good to be able to surpass past the music culture that we have now, to surpass the fashion, because that's what we've been limited to right now. It's like social media, fashion, you know what I'm saying? Money, Birkins, you know what I'm saying? But not actually like tying us to what our inventions, what we're really doing, because everything is like created in this bubble. So um
1000%. You
I love
can't
that.
branch out. You can't branch out until you know your roots.
Hmm. Oh
Mhm.
wow. Okay, look at you. Metaphorical speaker.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. That's deep.
Absolutely.
Y'all hear that, blacksmiths? You cannot branch out until you know your roots, okay?
Yeah.
It's very true.
It's important. It's important.
Um, Speaking of know your roots, I don't know, did you have anything else that you wanted to say about this amazing person?
No, 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 no. The man speaks for himself, even from the
He
grave.
does. I'm like, wow, that's a spot, like agricultural scientist. Wow. So anybody out there that's farming, like there you go. Do
Yeah.
some research on this man, your forefather. Um, Speaking of on this day, I meant to tell y'all that so January 1st, they celebrate the new year, but of course, somebody had posted, I recently read this, that there was a time where slaves would actually dread New Year's Day,
Yeah.
January 1st. And the reason why is because this was the day that they would trade slaves, or they would sell slaves. So they're getting split up from their families. They said of all the days that they most dread, one of the slaves said, he was like, he basically dread January 1st. So
Yeah.
a lot of people had a lot of bronze people in the community had a little bit of outrage. It was mixed reviews about this post that we saw that mentioned that on January 1st, this was the day that slaves were actually traded and sold to other slave owners. Some people felt like, why did this have to be brought up? Like, why can't we celebrate this day? Why can't we have something to celebrate as well? Why would you want to remind us of this tragedy? Why does every holiday have to be a tragedy? And I don't know. I just felt like it was important for us to know that, because I honestly have never resonated with the day. So, what do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's something that we should be reminded of on a day like New Year's, where everyone else gets to celebrate? Should we know that this was something that our ancestors were like? Our ancestors were in hell on this
Yeah.
day,
Yeah. Families getting split up and whatnot, and
right?
getting sold off, and you know, yeah, it's infuriating me even to meditate on it right now. But
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I mean, to be quite honest, slavery, racism, white supremacy, etc., are all interwoven into every single day of the year. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? There's
that's
We're
true.
not going to be able to get around it.
Wow,
You
that
know what I mean?
is
So, let's acknowledge it, and let's not maybe meditate on it, but let's keep it in mind going forward, because you know we can gain a sense of complacency by not reflecting on the atrocities that were committed in this country.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Complacency a sense of settling. You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's
And
what I was
so,
thinking. I was like, they're bringing awareness to something like this allows us to create something outside of that, even if
mm,
it's giving the acknowledgement and celebrating their lives on that day
100%.
instead, but
Well,
not participating in that for the sake of saying, giving that acknowledgement. And it just seemed like people were more mad that somebody brought it up than the actual act itself. And
and I
that's
get
where,
it. I can,
uh,
I can understand both sides of that. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah,
dog. I don't want to be reminded every single day of the year that, hey,
that's what
you
people were
know,
saying.
did you know that your great grandmama was raped and sold off? And like, yeah, I don't want to hear about that shit all day. But it's good to know, just so, like, for instance, 9/11. What do they say? Never forget.
Right.
Not only to keep those people who died in mind, but also, check this out, it creates fuel or provides fuel
Mm.
towards going after your enemy.
Mhm.
Never
Mhm.
forget was the emblem, was the motto, until we captured Osama bin Laden.
Mm.
Until justice was brought, you don't forget that shit.
Yeah.
Justice has not been brought to our community.
And
So
not
we
at
don't
all.
forget about that shit.
And that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying, somebody was like, that like you're holding a grudge, you're unhappy. And I'm like, no, because I had a say in it. And I'm like, no, I celebrate my new year on my birthday. That's my new year when I'm reborn. Now, if you want to celebrate it, okay, but really take that acknowledgement and really like put it into focus, because I really do feel like it contributes to a lot of systematic oppression that we have now. There, like you said, white supremacy, the privilege, the advantages, it's pretty much interwoven into the culture, into the calendar, into every aspect of life. You know what I mean? But when do we say, okay, we need to acknowledge this so that we can move differently? I feel like it would open up different things that would make us move in a different direction. Which even leads me to what we had talked about earlier, which is the this plantation state of mind
Mentality.
and mentality that we have when it comes to other aspects of our lives, such as the football, which is overlooked. What we've been talking about, we've talked about it in music, but this week we've had some disturbing stories of NFL players having cardiac arrest, passing away from heart failure, which the one of them was not on the field, didn't have anything to do about it, did anything to do with the actual act of football itself. But then we talk about the football player, what is his name?
Damar Hamlin.
Damar Hamlin, who plays for the Buffalo Bills, um, collapsed on the field after getting a hard hit to his chest and had a cardiac arrest, which he was revived and he was escorted to the UC Medical Center, in which he was in critical condition. And since he has come to and he's communicated with his family and he's communicating by writing and he has been able to hug and embrace his family. But since this has come into the picture, a lot of people are bringing up and realizing that a lot of these football players are not getting justice in their contracts. They're not being able to be afforded the true health care that they really need for the type of blows, the type of physical activity that they're experiencing on the field. So when you think about this goes back to that plantation type of system. How do we have these football players not getting the best health care when they're going through these? LJ, is there any way that we can pull up like the stats or any way that we can get that information that man was speaking on?
Yeah, let me pull it up right now. I'll be right back. Just
Yeah,
What
I
do you
mean, if possible, just bring up the clip where homie was talking about all the things and let him speak for himself. Um, but to recall without the video what he was speaking on. is that in order to get a pension from the NFL, I think you have to play 4 to 5 years in order to get a pension for the rest of your life. You know, um, moreover, uh, I believe that Damar Hamlin's contract only gave him from his rookie season to this season. This is his second season. $1
Mm,
million. Now, if this man is not able to play for the rest of his life because of this hit that he received, because of the heart attack that he sustained, that $1 million is going to be sucked dry due to
right.
he's back on the street, figuratively speaking, and he's going to have to fend for himself in terms of finding employment and just helping his family, etc. Okay.
Right.
Now the criticism that some people are saying is that, well, you know, we all have to figure that shit out, right?
Right.
If you're not extremely gifted and talented, physically speaking, we all have to figure out how to provide for our families and whatnot without a fat NFL contract giving us $1 million within 2 years. That's fair.
Yeah, that's true.
That's fair. Okay. Fair argument. But when you're talking about a corporate system that makes billions off of your participation within that system, and in exchange they throw you pennies or crumbs, that's where the injustice is.
I mean, they primarily make their funds from these young men on the field. That man is what, 20? He's 24, right?
Yeah.
He's a
24.
baby.
He's expendable.
He's a baby.
Essentially,
He is
according to the NFL,
expendable
he's
because you
he's
have
expendable.
all they
They
have
won't
to
play
do
him.
is get their draft picks. They
Yeah,
go to these high schools and they
yeah,
start drafting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think this story is eye opening in regard to the potential risks, and this is so rare. He's the only person that sustained a heart attack on the field, as far as I've researched. The only person in the NFL history. Okay, so this is rare, but it is opening people's eyes to the risk that football players and athletes in general have to take in order to
Right.
participate. And
Because they're
so,
still facing a lot of blows.
yeah, 100%. And this is just a major incident that is getting light. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
This is not to mention the thousands of injuries that take place every season that just don't get headline news.
That are swept under the rug for the sake of keeping these players in the game, right?
Exactly. I mean, we all know about the concussion phenomenon, and corruption that was taking place pretty much throughout NFL history. It was an African doctor who brought that to light. Will Smith starred in the biopic
Mhm.
of that doctor. It was called Concussion. Watch it if you have the time.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the NFL swept. So they knew players were sustaining these
Oh my god.
concussions to the detriment of their health later in life. Now, as a young man, you can keep playing after receiving a concussion, after receiving multiple concussions, you can keep playing and whatnot. But as you age, those concussions will catch up to you, and they'll result in homicidal thoughts, suicidal thoughts. Their Junior Seau, who was a linebacker for the Chargers in the
Wow.
90s and early 2000s, he committed suicide. He shot himself.
Are you
He was
serious?
in his maybe late 40s, 50s, and he wrote a suicide note saying, "Hey, study my brain. I keep telling my
God.
doctors something's wrong with my brain. They won't listen to me." So he shot himself in the chest with a
Oh
shotgun
my
to
god.
preserve his brain. They listened to his autopsy, or to his request, did an autopsy, took out his brain, studied it, and they saw all these different injuries on his brain that you can only see
What?
after post-mortem. You can't see that with a CAT scan or whatever. But it's called CTE.
Wow.
That's what you sustain after having a concussion.
Oh, that's
You
what
have
I've heard a
multiple
lot of people talking about that.
CTE.
Oh,
So it
yeah.
especially affects you later in life. You know what I mean? There was another incident where a former NFL player killed like 5 or 6 people, including himself. That was like last year.
Oh my
And honestly,
god.
these stories are pretty common. I can't remember
So
this
they
individual.
develop it's a neurological disorder
It's a
then.
neurological disorder. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So these are the risks that are associated with playing football in
Mm,
particular, but sports in general. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I'm glad that this incident happened because it's bringing more awareness to that. Just so you know, informed consent. I'm all about informed consent. Go ahead and sign up for to play in the NFL. Go up and enlist in the army. Go up and take that shot. But just know the risks.
yeah,
Don't do it uninformed. You know what I mean? And so I'm glad that the youth, that's damn near the only thing I care about. I'm glad that the youth get to see
right.
that so that you don't have to commit your whole life to pursuing that when there's other avenues to success.
Exactly.
You know what I
You're
mean?
multidimensional. There are other things that
Exactly.
you can do. If you're good at this, you are also good at that. It's a lot of people
Exactly.
that are good at physical activities that also have that mental capacity to do
Exactly.
amazing things. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't have
Very
to confine yourself to just being an athlete out here and
yeah.
taking on that risk. You can do
Yeah.
something that is much less risky and can make you even more successful.
Right.
So but yeah, it's an atrocity. I don't know if we have that video queued up and ready to go, but
Yeah, I'll play it right now.
okay. Is it possible to skip towards when he really starts laying out the statistics? I think it was like maybe minute two.
I'm kind of hot because we do this every freaking time something happened on this field. Everybody want to pivot and act like they. I done heard people talking about, oh, just the mental health of the players, and yeah, you could die. They don't even know they could die out here. We sit here and talk about this stuff every single time. Schedule remakes. How we gonna make it up? What the league feels about it? I don't give a damn what the league feels about it. Let's keep it real. Why we don't talk about the stuff that matters? This young man, you want to know? You want to know how what this you need to know about him? He's 24 years old, right? He got a contract for $160,000. That's his bonus, and he earns $825,000 this year. You say, G. Bush, why are you talking about this man's money? Because guess what? He's been in the league 2 years. That means he's not vested. That means if he never plays another down in his life, he don't get another check for the NFL. Let's be clear about this. You got to
Mhm.
play 3 to 4 years before you even sniff a pension. So all this heartwarming and prayers and condolences don't do nothing for that boy's mom that got to go home, look at her son, and he might need extensive care for the rest of his life. And you know
Mhm.
what the NFL will tell you? Well, we'll look out for the people like him. No, you won't. No, you won't. Let's talk about the disability policy for the NFL. Right? They moved it from $22,000 a month to $4,000 in the last collective bargaining agreement. Did you know that FIFA has a private board that reviews all aspects with their doctors and with their neurologists and their specialists? They can deny benefits even if Social Security deems you to be permanently disabled. The league can come back and then say, the government is they're experts, but let's take it over so we don't pay anything out. Only 15% get approved by Social Security. The league says that number should be lower. Get that. 15% of the people who apply for disability in this country, I know I was a disability expert. It's very low. I submitted over almost 250,000 applications in 1 year one time. I know. Since the CTE settlement, only 6.5% of the settlement has been paid according to the admin's website. I looked it up yesterday. And 60% of the claims have a fine diagnosis but have not been paid. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. They're also moving the pension. And that pension, he got to make it to 55. He's 24. And they've moved that between 3,000. They moved it down to 3,000 when it was 5,600 a month. And the last stat that you should know about is the Bills owner Terry Gula owns the Sabres as well as the Buffalo Bills, and his net worth is $6.7 billion. My question to you is, NFL, when know these young men are going out there and they could die on that football field. I don't give a damn what you thoughts and prayers are. Do the right thing. I just heard Didi say it 7 times.
Okay.
This is a savage sport. Men are dying.
Right.
Okay. Do the right thing. Okay. My biggest criticism. My biggest criticism. Okay. Why are we depending on, I'm talking about as a community, I'm talking about as athletes, if you're an athlete, in the NFL particularly. Why are you depending on these people to do the right thing? When you know you're dealing with the devil, do you expect him to do the right thing? No. You hold his foot to the fire and demand that he does the right thing. The collective bargaining agreement that they signed this past year that reduced the health care, what was it, the pension, it was some fund, went from 22,000, he said, per month
Mm-hmm.
to 2,000
Yeah.
for the health care, I think. Why would you agree to that type of contract?
Right.
A lot of times the things that we suffer as a community, we settle for it. Collective bargaining, there's a players union, an NFL players union. You have the power as an NFL player to bargain for whatever your contracts are. Why are you settling for such a shitty contract? And this goes, you know what? I know this is another story, and I know you guys feel a certain way about it, but that Bruce Beach story, that fucking burns me up, man. Because they settled for less than they should have gotten. They settled. But we can talk about that when that segment comes up. But
yeah,
in regard to this collective bargaining agreement, we settled for that as the NFL community. They settled for that.
Yeah.
They settled for that.
Yeah.
Don't go expecting them to be kind and to do the right thing. No, they're not going to do the right thing. How many instances do we need to see that these people are not going to do the right thing from the kindness of their hearts? No, that's not. You need to go out there and demand. You need to either take to the streets, take to the contracts, and or strike. Just don't play. Do something, because they need us more than we need them.
That's what I was saying with the Kyrie Irving situation.
Exactly.
I was like, he need not play and nobody else need not play,
exactly.
But they would say sorry really fast, because what really are these corporations without the players? Literally nothing. They can't get 10 of their best men and put on a game. The game would be sorry.
Exactly.
You know, let's be honest, it wouldn't, because they literally do lack the talent, the rhythm, the everything. So they're behind these contracts, and these payouts are terrible. These people, for what they're going through, they do need the best disability. He said the 60% of the claims are qualifying for assistance, but they get overlooked. They don't even though 60% of the claims can be accounted for, like they're legitimate, they don't even take care of them. So that means that not just him is walking around sorry, but there are a lot of people who are injured. A lot of NFL players are walking around injured, and they're not going to say anything, because not only, money talks, but also blackballing talks. Let's not act like they're not going to get.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that's how they silence people, and that's how they invoke fear in people is through blackballing voices that stand
up. But you're right about the union shit, though. You have a union. Take advantage.
Power. Take advantage of it. You know what I mean?
You guys get together and take advantage. I've used a union in my position at my job, and bet they didn't expect me to do it. But I was like, oh, you want to play like that?
Right. Right.
You sing a different tune with somebody else behind me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. I can't say anything, but I have a representative that actually knows how this is supposed to be broken down, because nobody in their right mind, even when you're working, or if you're even working a regular fucking office job, that is not acceptable. I mean, but even then they give shitty workers compensation. So it's equivalent to that.
Joy, you made an excellent comparison in segueing into the segment about the plantation mentality. You know what I mean? And this this might not match up exactly. Actually, I know it doesn't. But back in the day, so okay, the Emancipation Proclamation, the Civil War, all that was fought to in order to keep slavery as law. That was not brought about from the kindness of their hearts. Okay, that's the narrative. That's not the truth. Okay,
Right.
they didn't give us the Emancipation Proclamation. We forced the Emancipation Proclamation. There were slave uprisings on plantations were common. They weren't just one-offs. They were
Mhm.
common. So we forced their hand. They was like, okay,
Mhm.
shit, either we got to slay these dudes, or I'm sorry, either we have to free these people, or we're gonna die trying to keep slavery.
Yeah,
You
because
know what I
they're
mean?
getting angry. They're rebelling. They don't have anything to lose at this point.
So, likewise, the NFL does not have the power. The players do, and if they just used their power, this will be a done deal. We wouldn't be talking about shit like this. But
Right.
but we don't use that power, and that falls on us. That falls
It
on us.
does. It does. And this is why we're raising awareness to it. You know what I'm saying? So that people outside of the arena can say something too. It doesn't just mean a union, but if we can say, "Hey, we support y'all." I feel like these players, they see the money up front.
Yeah,
Because I mean, 825,000 is not really a lot. That's a
yeah,
house in LA. That's
exactly.
what it costs to buy a house, and
But it's
Yeah,
a lot when you ain't never had no money. You gotta
that
yeah,
think.
is
and so
true.
I get it. I'm not like I
And
don't
it's
want
a
to
lot
seem
when you're
overly critical.
24.
I don't want to
Yeah,
seem overly critical. Like, yeah, if somebody hands you a bag of money, of course, it's going to be hard to turn that bag down. But,
yeah,
first off, we have to come to a realization that money is not everything. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But when you don't have money growing up, it seems like everything. And so
yeah,
that's why we just need to come into a higher state of consciousness.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Otherwise, you are prone to get taken advantage of.
yeah, yeah, which has been happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But on this Damar Hamlin event that took place, heart, prayers up to him and his family.
Yeah,
I
but
really
his ass
pray.
woke up from the hospital. They said he wrote, and I'm sorry, but he wrote talking about who won the game.
Yeah, and that's the condition that most athletes come under. You care more about the sport itself, about winning itself, but I mean, to a fault above all else.
Like, sir,
Um,
your brain just came to. But I'm
yeah,
sure that's what they,
and he
they
probably
tell
didn't.
them that this is your
Yeah,
heart, mind, and soul. They have their little inside brethren,
yeah.
uh, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of toxicity that exists in sports. That being one of them, that you place winning above all else. But that is
That's
the
the
warrior mentality. That's the mentality of a warrior, and there's a time and place for that. You know what I mean? And it's a
Yeah, because
balance.
right now he's sounding bucked. When you wake
Yeah,
up from you woke, you just
yeah,
came to him. And I hate to say that, but it breaks my heart to say that. It's not even talking about him. It's like I get it. That's your thing. You're that, but his health is number one
yeah.
because they not asking, dude, are you okay? The agents is in there and they ready. Like, are you ready? We need you to be ready to
Yeah.
go tomorrow.
All right.
You feeling good? Let's put an ice pack on your heart. You're ready. So
ice pack on the heart is wild.
Now get back in there, Tiger.
Come on, yeah, exactly. No, seriously. Here,
Yeah,
man, we're gonna take you to a nice dinner. You and the family. You come over with the wife and kids. They try to.
yeah. It's really sad,
Yeah,
really sad. But
I just,
But
yeah. But we're gonna send like you said, our prayers and our love and our condolences to the family, and just wish them healing, and hopefully he can come to and like actually bring awareness to this when he realizes, because who knows what's in the future. He's okay now, but we got to let some years pass, and hopefully, he heals completely.
I hope so. I really, really, really,
Yeah.
really hope so, man. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, damn, y'all been playing with these sorry ass health benefits and wasn't nobody knowing this. Y'all all up in the club, got the bottles in the VIP, but your ass gotta go to motherfucking, you got that basically Medicare ass fucking healthcare for.
It's probably worse than Medicare.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, it sounds like it.
seriously. I mean,
It
you got
sounds like
more assistants getting a paper cut as an admin assistant.
yeah.
Anyway, I
It's
guess that didn't
sad.
make sense really, but you
No,
get
it's sad. It's
it's
sad
like,
how much they're taking advantage of.
and this is that why we gotta get out of that plantation
That
mindset.
plantation
Seriously.
mindset is
Yeah.
it's real. It's real. It's
Because
serious.
it's literally a football field, but
Yeah, yeah,
they in the
yeah.
field.
Well, I
Work.
mean, and there's more. There's more. I guess parallels that exist than just them playing on the field. When you look at the NFL draft, for instance, they have these men in virtually no clothes on, just like when you're on the auction block. They're
Come
sizing you up.
on.
They're measuring you,
It's an option.
seeing what you're capable of. It is an option. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
So
That's real.
Mm.
there's nothing more I can bring to that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we brought our awareness to it. We shared our thoughts. I just feel like it's important. People. My brother played football. My brother could never play again because he tore his ACL and he misplaced his meniscus and both his knees, and so he could never play again. And he was 16 years old, and his knee has never been the same. And he was young, and what after that, just what he don't play no more, nothing else. Then nobody, my mom had to pay the medical bills and all that, the surgeries. So yeah,
It's fucked up.
yeah. So
and
this is good for blacksmith mamas to hear. You got a teenage son, make sure you got top tier medical.
just know
Make
what
sure
you're
he has
getting
plays
yourself
for golf,
into.
tennis, and baseball. That's where
Right.
he's at anyway.
Okay. All right, LGZ. Okay. So with that said, what we got popping up next?
Okay. Well, we can either talk about Bruce Beach or we can talk about Dana White.
Let's talk about Bruce Beach because
let's talk about Bruce
Chris
Beach.
seemed like he would. I want to know what Chris would.
I was so fucking disappointed to hear about that story, man.
Oh.
Gosh. Okay. So, for those of you that don't know or want to know, Bruce Beach recently got the Bruce family was overturned the land in Manhattan Beach that was ripped from them years ago that they had owned. It was a nice beach area that was known as like the Black Beach, where people back in the day would go. The Black families would go to this area in the beach. It was taken over, and then they just completely ripped this land from these family, and then it is now what we know today at Manhattan Beach. Now, for the past year and a half, there's been a whole movement to get this Bruce family beach back to the Bruce family after all these years, and they finally did it. They got the land back. They gave it. The city of LA gave it back to them, and just recently, the Bruce family has decided to sell their piece of the land back to the city of Los Angeles for $20 million. Now, a lot of people are really upset about this. They were already being paid by the city of LA $450,000 for rent, I think it is, a month, and they just decided to sell for $20 million. So a lot of people are upset, and I personally feel like there's good and bad with it. But what do y'all think?
Okay, so the value of the home is estimated around 75 million. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's not one house; it's like a whole plot of land.
Whole
It's
property.
a whole plot of land. Yeah. So it's like a lot of houses on that property right now.
Which is on the beach.
On the beach.
Beachfront property. So
which
at a
is
discount.
property.
now I think that's where it gets a little.
Okay, so let me give you a little more context. The reasoning why the people decided to sell it is because they say it's a racist town anyway. That's one thing they say. The people don't want us there anyway. It would be more work to stay afloat and stay around this community when we're not even welcome. So I guess it's easier to sell than to deal with the shit that come with it.
Okay, so
Uh,
this ties into the what we were talking about in the last segment, but also it ties into the reparation argument that's taking place right now throughout the country. Um, when you are dealing with people who don't want to see you win, you have to know that any negotiation that they pose is not going to be in your favor. It's not. It's not going to be in your favor. You know what I mean? It's plain and simple. It's going to be giving you some type of benefit at a discount. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So whether you sign that contract or agree to those terms, I know an argument out there that exists is that, hey, maybe they'll be able to flip that money and turn it into hundreds of millions down the line. Okay, I respect that 100%. You know what I mean? You got to be very savvy with your money in order to do that, but that's within our grasp. That's within our potential 100%. But when you consider the fact that real estate in particular is such an appreciating value, okay?
Mhm.
There's no way that I would sign a contract saying that there's a cap on how much I could sell this land for once I got it. That's my that's my you're giving you might think that you're doing me a favor by giving it back to me, but it was stolen from me in the first place. So no,
Mhm.
I'm not going to agree to I'm not going to capitulate to your terms of like I can own no, nigga, that's my property. That'd be like you getting your car stolen and then you getting it back, right? But them saying like, you know what, you can get it back, but you can only sell it for $1,000.
Mhm.
You will look at him like he was stupid. And that's
Mhm.
exactly how they should have approached this. But yet, you know, I don't know what their family situation is. Maybe they desperately need that money, and if that's so, then I'm out of line. But
Well,
if
no, they
there's
didn't need it. I mean, I think we got to remember they were already getting paid rent from the city of Los Angeles. It wasn't like they had to figure out, oh, maybe we should build a property over here and then we could. No. $450,000 a month. You talking about
you sure
close
about that?
to
Really?
yeah,
Honestly,
yeah, bro. They were
Yeah,
selling.
because I'm thinking like that property, especially there, actually 450,000 is not even enough,
a month or a
really.
year.
No, a month, bro. It was rent. It was
So
rent.
Because
essentially,
it's
what you're
several
saying is
properties, right? On
4,500 times 12, which is a calendar year. They would have made 5.4 million in one
Millions.
year. You
Exactly.
do 4 years of that, you would have made the 20 million that you sold the motherfucker for. So I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. But
well,
again, it ain't
There's
my
a lot of
property.
people in the family.
So who am I to say?
And
but
it's a
You
lot of
know, you
people
what
have
you want
family.
with
I
your
think that
property,
there's
but
some
I don't
family
think it's a
dynamics that go into it that we might not even know. My
or
yeah,
maybe
100.
maybe there was a threat. Maybe there was a threat, a silent threat if they said that, because I mean, I'm very familiar with Manhattan Beach and I feel comfortable because like I've said on previous podcasts, I walk anyway, like bow down, but maybe not everybody feels that way. And maybe other people surrounding have felt some kind of way. There's this place near Manhattan Beach. It's called the Sand Dunes. And it's a big hill that people go up and it can take you straight to the beach. Well, the workout is so strenuous. It's just a big hill of sand, and there's stairs that are adjacent that go up to the sand. Like all the athletes go there. Long story short, a lot of bronze people started going there, and the community of Manhattan Beach started complaining. So they started charging them $1 to go, like legally the park and recs got to charge people $1 to go up this sand dunes, and that's how they were able to regulate like how many people go up there, and they even changed the time frames. I was like, oh, I know why they did this, because athletes started to go there, because surprisingly there are actually a lot of bronze people who are celebrity who live in that area in Manhattan Beach. I saw Matt Barnes and Gloria there before, right at one of the restaurants. There's so many people. Andrew Bynum was over there before. Like
We
a
be
lot
over
of
there. We be over there. We be over.
we just yeah, a lot of us be over there. So I feel like they probably could have gotten a threat, maybe could have been the case. Like, look, you do this shit and we, and not just a regular threat, maybe from some people that are powerful, even community, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, when I say community, like a judge, I don't know,
I mean, it could be any
law
of that.
enforcement,
I think that
anyone.
makes a lot more sense because if you're already getting paid rent, to Chris's point, after 5 years, you're making that money back, and who knows what the value of the property is in the next 5 years. I think to me, it says more of like scare tactics. Maybe somebody was scared into that 20 mil. If you know your shit's worth 75, that's more than 50% off you're giving.
Because who in their right mind? If anybody mathing, we are. We
Exactly. So
mathing.
I think that part of me felt like it is that, but I don't know. I don't know. I know that a lot of people that were on the front lines working to help this family get this property back were not in. They weren't considered when they came to this decision. They weren't
which
thought
is
of. They
sad,
weren't
man.
put into
Because a lot of work went into that.
so much. Yeah, so much.
Yeah,
You know,
and it's
um,
beachfront property. It's not just like that. That would change. It's
in
bigger than
California,
money. It's
in
bigger
Southern
than
California.
money. Yeah, it changes the whole dynamic. When we talk about people migrating from place to place, these are things that make a difference. Having an asset, especially in a time where they're trying to convert money to digital, having an asset is probably one of the most powerful things that you can have. It's because that's a trade if you don't have anything else. Land, that's crops. You can have so much just having that. So
Yeah, you know,
it's
yeah, I'm the thought going through my mind right now, or the feelings going through me right now, are even more infuriated due to the work that it took to get them that property back.
yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
And
We
everybody was
know
rooting
people
for
personally
them.
that were
Yeah,
involved in that,
so many people. Yeah.
and I'm very curious as to how they feel about it. Maybe they're happy for the family. Who knows? But I know all the work that went into getting that property back. I guarantee you, they would have liked to have seen it maximized um,
Yeah.
over
And
time.
and Kavon Ward, who was one of the first people on the front lines. Y'all met her earlier or last year or whatever. She voiced it. She talked about how she was not considered. They did not ask her anything about it when they were making that decision, and she's 100% against it. She thinks it's stupid and that it was a poor choice. But I do feel, as someone who knows her and somebody who's inspired by what she created and was able to do, if it wasn't for her effort putting this on the front line, other people wouldn't think that this was a thing that you could even fight for. And I think that is the biggest benefit that comes from
Mhm.
all of this, because now companies like Where's My Land and other initiatives that are come across the way are going to be able to say, look what they did in LA and what we could do in this area.
Yeah. My
Especially
my
Manhattan Beach.
and
Like,
my
I
biggest
mean,
hope, my
And
biggest
so,
hope
I mean,
is that
sometimes your first is your worst. You know what I mean? The first
I hope
attempt
so. I
is the
sure hope so.
worst result. I
I
mean, yeah.
sure hope so, man.
I mean, I think that but it's also like we won't know until we see how all these other things kind of bear fruit. But
Yeah.
above all, hats off to the people that did put up that fight, because if it wasn't for that fight, we'd still be talking about how there's all this land that gets taken, and we would just be speculating, even though we already know what time it is. You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
and
I
it's
mean,
unfortunate though. It is
and
unfortunate.
this really ties into what we were talking about offline a few weeks ago. It was something that had nothing to do with anything like this, but it was um, a lot of success in this world comes from knowing your value. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And a lot of people sell themselves short
Mhm.
to their detriment.
Mhm.
Blacksmith community, please know your value and don't settle for less than it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, please don't. Coming from my own spiritual faith and where I place that, there's a story in the Bible that ties perfectly into this. Jacob, okay, Jacob, father of the 12 tribes. Originally, the blessing was supposed to go to Esau. Esau sold his blessing for a bowl of porridge or some bullshit like that.
Mm-mm. Mm.
I hate to say it, but it seems like it's within our DNA to sell our value for discount and,
Beyond
and
discount, like,
beyond discount.
I mean,
And we got to
really,
stop it. We got
yeah,
to stop it.
yeah, because it's really it is shortening the generational wealth. I read that they said that they did it for generational wealth, but I just don't know any more generational wealth than you can get than having land.
That's
Having
bullshit.
land, huh?
That's a bunch of bullshit. I think, from my little narrow knowledge that I do have, I think that one person was the sole benefactor. He had the majority choice on what was going to happen. That person does not understand their full worth, and they were willing to discount this whole thing for a quick payday.
For a quick payday.
Yeah, because
For a quick payday.
yeah, that's all it is a payday. It's nothing else.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
just off. We're I don't. I won't say we, but um, individuals need to be more forward thinking, future minded instead of present, right here and now minded. You know what I mean? Especially when you're considering generational wealth. Generational wealth is talking about not only your sons and daughters, but your grandsons and granddaughters, your great grandsons and granddaughters. You know, why wouldn't we want to set the future up for, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily always about us. You know what I mean? And in this world right now where everything is on demand, whatever you want, you can have it at the snap of a finger or the swipe of a button or the press of a button. Like, it's taking us out of that future minded, patient, um, progressive type of mentality. You
Yeah,
know what
there's
I
no
mean?
Mhm.
long term scope. We're just looking at right now. It's like fast food mentality. I want it right now,
Right here, right now.
Exactly.
and
You
there's
know,
no
and
No,
need
everybody
to.
know when you put the motherfucker in the oven, it tastes better. You
yeah,
know,
seriously. Yeah, not really taking the time to plant the seeds, but that's what the oppressors are doing. When they have developments and they do things on the land, before they get that land, they already done had made a whole blueprint of what the fuck's gonna happen, how it's gonna accumulate wealth, how it's gonna be dispersed. You see these other people opening businesses and they have that family member running that one and that family member running that one. You know what I mean? Just there's just so many things. Hell, even if you buy a piece of land and shit, make that shit a parking lot. That's
You can
so
eat forever.
lucrative
You
something,
can eat
because
forever.
that's
right?
they making money doing that. Even if
Right,
you just do
right,
that with it, like
right. I mean, unless you are very savvy with investments and whatnot, money is like sand in your hand. You
it
can't
is
hold on
really
to it
losing its
for long.
value.
You
Yeah.
cannot hold on to it for long, especially in this inflationary cycle that we are in.
Money means nothing.
That
This is
20
why
mil
niggas was
next
on
year is gonna be
Instagram
worth like
spelling out
15 mil.
sentences.
Yeah.
You saw the trend? I'm like, damn, y'all got too much money. Y'all 17 with millions of dollars. They just handing out money because it don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
You
Part of me
know?
feels like this whole Bruce Beach situation that we're seeing the results of speaks a lot to kind of like when somebody in your family passes away and the way that the kids fight over the money
Mm, mm.
and how you end up with no
Yep.
money at the end of it all because of all of the
Yep.
infighting. We as a community, we are in these tribes. it's like we have this tribe connection within our DNA, but we also don't have the habit of looking out for each other long term. You know what I mean?
100%, LJ.
Once Big Mama dies, who takes care of the house now? Who passes it down? You know, it's like that's in our DNA also, and I think that has a lot more to do with it. Now, other cultures we could say don't follow that same kind of roadmap, but we kind of. I mean, I've seen it happen in my family. I've seen it happen in other people's family, and that's something that I think really we need to get to the. We need to hit like I don't know. We need to like nip that in the bud. You know, you gotta look out for, like you said, like the generations to come. But we so quick to fight each other over scraps. $20 million in 2023. Come on, my nigga. We already know that ain't no money. They paying
That's
LeBron.
nothing.
They pay LeBron James more than that in 1 year.
Right.
And this
That's nothing.
spread through all these family members. It's like, you know.
Yeah. Like you said, man, we're as a community, we're very I think you said tribe based, where it's like, yeah, like we talk the game, like, yeah, we about the community, but we got to start practicing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I've talked
Gotta
to
start
friends and
practicing.
I've been like, hey, let's put $1 aside a week and just create our own bank. And they're like, no, because somebody gonna end up stealing the money. $1 a week. Do you
That's
really
facts.
care?
That's how we talk.
$1 a week.
Right.
We can create our own community bank. It doesn't even have to be official. Just put $1 a week aside together. But so yeah, and I feel like a lot of it comes from us not having any type of principality to really go off of, because a lot of our morals were actually taken and robbed from us. So we don't really have a standard foundation, some type of mutual respect of, no, we cross lines with each other and don't care. There is no, okay, there's not a line we won't cross. If it's good enough, we'll cross it, and we don't put any type of moral or tradition behind it. I remember my mom has a house and I'm on the deed, my brother's on the deed. My mom was like, whatever you do, please don't ever sell this house. I was like, I will never sell the house. You can mark my word. This has our energy, our everything. This means more to me than anything could. No, you can assure that, because I know what it means. So other cultures, they're like, your father passed this down. We had this for century. It do great wonders for the, you know what I'm saying? They be having a fucking super energy and shit locked up. And it's because they keep it in the family, and that's what keeps it strong. So it's like, even if we kept our principles strong on holding on to something, not money, we would even stand stronger.
Right.
We need some kind of principle.
Right.
Yeah. So each one teach one.
Yeah.
Everybody gotta practice what we preach, and eventually the tide will start to turn.
Right. I thought I was gonna have some family house to go visit this summer on the beach. Yeah.
Yeah, we would have showed up with food for the cookout and everything.
It would have been cousin.
Yeah,
So yeah. And they would have been mad, the white folks.
Yeah. But you know what? It's so many blessings coming our way as a community. This is, like you said, your first one is your worst one, and hopefully we can learn from this and rebound with the next reparation, because we finna get many reparations in many forms.
Exactly.
So we'll do better with the next
Love
one.
that. Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm glad that the Bruce family did what was best for them, what they felt was best for them, and I'm glad that they're getting that money, and I pray that they just put it to good use and it's able to create generational wealth for that individual family.
Same here. And they still got the landmark up. They're about to build a new statue, so their memory will always be there as long as they keep
statue.
Yeah, I felt the same way, Joy.
Drake,
but it's good. You know what I mean? Like,
that's how I feel about it. Drake.
It'll go towards something good.
Huh?
It'll go towards something.
Yeah.
Good.
What? A statue?
A statue.
Bye.
You could burn. You could melt that bitch down at some point. Get a 10
They
bands.
was just now kicking statues down in 20.
You
Yeah,
are right
I
about
mean, it'll do some good. It'll do some good and instilling, encouraging people that walk past it. Like, hey, I
What?
can
You
maybe.
being
I
nice.
don't
You
know.
know what? That's
I
sweet of
am. I
you.
am being very
Playing the
nice right
spirit
now.
of fucking
But
what? A statue?
you
I
know,
was trying to be a little more positive on it, but
same. I'm with you, LJ.
I
I'm
don't even look
trying.
at
I'm
statues.
trying.
They look the same. You can't
Yeah.
tell who they is. You know what? Okay. With that said,
You know
I guess
what? Our next segment.
which ain't even any better, actually.
Oh my God. You know,
A statue.
earlier this week, Dana White was captured on camera slapping the taste of his wife's mouth. It was
The taste.
Dana White is the owner of or he might be the CEO because I know they sold the UFC to some other people maybe 5-6 years ago. But I believe he's the president of the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter Championship, cage fighting, as most people or other people would know it as. He's the owner of the sport, and he was captured on camera. I believe they were in a bar or some type of party. It seemed like arguing with each other. His wife was shown slapping him first, and then he did not hold back and
Right.
retaliate.
Like
He
seconds later, like it was a natural she
it was a
said, he
natural
said
reaction. It seemed like, yeah.
correct.
Um, and so, yeah, that's been in the news, or actually, it really hasn't been in the news. I didn't hear about this anywhere except for maybe one post on IG. That was it. That
I
was
look,
it.
I saw it on a black media
Right.
outlet because you already know
Mhm.
the other medias
Yeah.
wasn't gonna show him using his little bear claw hands against, but you know what? She deserved it. She reached out and slapped him first. I'm sorry. I'm a woman. I'm gonna say it. Why are you putting your hands on him?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
the owner. I mean, he dealing with fighters all the time, and they talking about they said something along the lines of like that's the first time or that's not like nigga. You know y'all slap festing up in that house. Y'all
Right.
that's them slaps slid off them hands too easily. She
Yeah.
slapped him easy. She didn't waste no time.
She didn't. She didn't.
And
And
she took the slap when he slapped her. She
yeah,
took it.
she did. She did. So
She
I
was
mean,
taking slap.
a spotlight will be on that household from now until the rest of his career. I would assume. You
No,
know,
it ain't because he got the complexion for the
he got the
protection.
complexion for the protection. Yeah, you're right
Oh,
about
yeah,
that.
but he did.
You
That
are
was
you are right about that.
he
But I
did.
guarantee you, he's probably going to be moving differently, uh, more apologetically, more cautiously because of this incident. Um, because with the Me Too movement and all that, which I know dealt more with like sexual harassment and sexual abuse. Um, there's just more awareness about how men are treating women. You know what I mean? Particularly men of prominence. This man is worth a lot of money. You know what I mean? So the dynamics are there. The power dynamics are there. That this story should be getting more attention. It should be. But like you said,
Yeah,
Joy,
that's
he
true.
has the complexion for the protection. If this was a brother, if this was a bronze man, I guarantee you this would be headline news.
Oh yeah, he would be everywhere. I mean, he would be on every news outlet. He would have a wanted poster. You know what I'm saying? They would have dug up his past from when he probably hit some girl in preschool. You
Yep.
know?
Yeah, perfect
Yeah.
example. Although there are some differences in the two cases. Perfect example, Ray Rice. I don't know if you remember Ray Rice from probably about 10 years ago. He was a Baltimore Raven.
Mm.
He was a running back at the time, and he was caught on camera in an elevator, knocking out his I believe it was his wife, or maybe it was just his girlfriend, but he knocked her out clean. Immediately, he was fired, and there was a firestorm involved around him and domestic violence amongst athletes, and really the undertone of it was amongst black people or black men. That was the undertone of
Mm,
that
as they would like to
that
do.
news cycle, focused on that incident. But here we have a white man putting his hands on his wife, and it's getting close to zero attention across the nation on camera. Now we
I do
hear about
think he
domestic
should get
violence.
attention, but the way he slapped her, it looked like it was a reflex. It looked like he was like, "Bitch," like kind of like that,
Yeah, no,
like
and it
I
was,
felt
and
like bitch,
I'm,
no, he didn't.
I mean, I'm of the philosophy that a woman damn near has to be inflicting imminent harm on you, like, you, in order for me as a male to put my, I mean, because I could kill, I could kill a woman if I just if I decided to retaliate, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So
That's true.
as a man, and maybe this is a dynamic that you're unaware of, but as a man, we have to keep that in mind, regardless of what's
Oh
happening
yeah,
to us. We kind of have to like dial down our strength, our power, our natural inclination to retaliate because of that fear. And
oh,
so,
I've seen
and that
that.
fear
Yeah,
exists because more times than not, no matter what happened previous to you putting your hands on her, you're going to jail, buddy.
right.
Which is my problem with this incident. This man is not in jail. He's not under fire. He's
Of
not
course
under
not.
much criticism. But when it comes to people of my community, when things like this happens and there's no video footage, we still suffer the consequences.
Right,
That's my
right.
issue.
Yeah, they're gonna pass that on and sweep that under the rug, and yeah, like I said, I saw it reported and it was on a black media page. It was nowhere else. So they're definitely not going to, you know what I'm saying?
Of
And
course.
and they know that he's beating her ass. You know what I'm saying? She's wearing sunglasses into the meetings with him. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
I
It, it,
mean,
it's serious.
yeah, but I personally don't care about them beating each other ass. Now, I do think he does need to take accountability, but the way she slapped him, I'm sure, yeah, they be slap boxing up in that house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's how it is, and that's why we bring these things to it. Like I said, I know they be beating their wives' asses. I be talking to some of these bitches over the phone, helping them in customer service, and the husband be like, "Shut up, you're stupid." Like, so, yeah, trust me. You know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
narrative is the opposite. They just like they like to say that we're violent people, they like to put that look upon our men. It's not until recent that our culture of men have become a little bit more volatile with their families, and I think a lot of that has to do with mental disorder, just as the same with the suicide rates going up. I think that a lot of bronze men are under a lot of pressures that, let's face it, that the others, they don't have them same pressures. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So, you
they
know,
was probably arguing over who took who oxycontin. That was a drug conversation up in there. That was pure coke slap.
that's funny.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, the post that I saw, it really, and again, there's levels to domestic violence, etc. But they compared, all the fire that Antonio Brown came under for his domestic violence disputes. It 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 threw Chris Brown and that incident with Rihanna into comparison. There was one other figure, LJ. I'm not sure if you remember who that was, but there was another figure who was also compared and contrasted to this incident. And there's just a there is a very apparent difference between the punishment and consequences that are sustained when it is bronze men who put their hands on their spouse, and white men that do, and it's unacceptable. It's really unacceptable. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
we're shedding light on this incident. Hopefully the story gets picked up more as the week goes on. Probably not though, but we can hope. We can hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And with
remember
that,
the Ray Rice incident.
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I do remember the Ray Rice incident you had brought up a little earlier. You know, that was like front page news like for like 2 weeks.
It's more than that, bro. That I remember that story being on the news for some months. And granted,
It was off season.
granted
It probably was.
that incident was very heinous in
Yeah,
that
it wasn't like
he like
it
dragged
wasn't.
her out the
It wasn't the
elevator.
same.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounded a little bit
It
different.
was it was different for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, but even with like honestly, even with Chris Brown, nobody really knows exactly what happened in there. You know what I'm saying? But that's one thing. But the second thing is, honestly, that man still can't live that down. There
He
are
can't.
still a lot
They
of
will
people
never forgive Chris for
ever. He has never.
I've seen people like years after that whole thing happened. I mean, I think that thing happened in like 2006. And years later, I was talking to some white people about how great Chris Brown is as like an entertainer. You know, we have them conversations. Oh, he's like nobody's better than him except for like Michael Jackson, one of them things. And then the white person in the room had the audacity to bring up how he was like stepping on Rihanna's face. I'm like, my nigga, when are we just gonna be able to just like allow people to make mistakes? Because he's Chris Brown. I understand what
He
he
was a baby.
like,
They were babies.
he made a dumbass decision, and she took him back, my nigga. So
And
if
she
she
fought
can't
him
take him
too.
back,
She fought him too.
she
Yeah, I
can.
Like,
believe he
I
had
mean,
some
it's,
cuts and stuff on him as well.
yeah, people were saying, just speaking along this line, not justifying Dana White's actions, but they were like, he has since issued a public apology, blah blah blah. And people brought up a good point. This was men who were bringing up the point. Men were like, well, where's her public apology?
Damn, that's a good ass point. That's a great point.
Where's hers?
Shit.
I mean, at the very least. So, I mean, we got one thing where we need this white man to take more accountability because black men be drugged for years and years and years, especially when a famous musician dies. They love bringing up his old drug habit that he even kicked or love saying he had an abusive relationship with whoever. Y'all don't never talk about these old clear men who didn't had a history of violence and done all these terrible things, you know what I'm saying? And beat their wives and do these drugs and have these horrible tempers. Like, let's really talk about it, So, but amongst that, like, where do we get these apologies from these women? Putting your hands on a man. It's because men do have to restrain no matter what. And I've personally seen it happen to men that I love, ending up hurt and abused. Just because the hurt doesn't have the same impact that it would have on a woman doesn't give you the right to do it. You're invading someone's personal space and saying, fuck you, I don't give a fuck about your body. So.
And I think women have the ability to hurt men in ways that a man could never hurt a woman other than physical abuse.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We got an evil side.
Yeah. Y'all know the buttons. Y'all know when not to press them, and sometimes y'all kick that motherfucker in.
No, this is definitely some people that press some buttons, and I'm like, ooh, child, it's hot up in here.
I mean, hey.
we all got work to do.
Yeah.
We all got work to do. But without much saying, it is. I think it's really keen that you point out how the reaction is so much different when people that's not bronze people do these things. It's really eye opening when I think about it because he didn't get arrested for that, but he definitely should.
That was assault.
Yeah, I mean,
they both should be in jail.
They both should be in jail.
They both should be in jail. She should be in jail too. Why? Because she committed a crime too.
Yeah, she provoked it. That's true.
Because look, if that was an interracial couple.
Oh man. Oh,
white woman.
Oh my God. He would have been under the jail already.
They would have definitely put that nigga in jail.
Right? Honestly.
From the club to the jail.
Right. Convicted him and everything. No jury, no nothing. Like nigga.
Rodney King's and locked up.
Yep.
And then 22 years because they would have found something like I don't know.
In the ninth grade, he stole a candy bar. Throw that nigga.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Throw him under the jail. So that even that would change the dynamics. For sure, that would have been in the news. So we already know that it's biased. You know what I'm saying? Fox News would have had the nigga on there that moment. Fox
Candace,
News would have been in the club with him.
and Candace Owens would have been right there talking shit.
Right. Right.
Oh my God.
And so yeah, y'all.
So, yeah. With that, let's get into the vibe of the week.
The vibe.
So, vibe of the week. This week, for me personally speaking,
This week.
is all about unplugging, disconnecting. In this world, this modern era that we live in, we're plugged in 24/7. 24/7. As soon as you're of age to have a phone in your hand, in the palm of your hand, you're glued to it. You're glued to that screen. You're glued to those apps. You're glued to the people that are trying to communicate with you through those apps. You're glued to. You're addicted to posting and to putting your life on display for everybody to see. At least the highlights. You don't put the negatives, but them highlights for sure is on there, and that can create a sense of anxiety, which is why anxiety is on the rise today. You know, it's why more than ever, any point in history, people uh, are prescribed anxiety and depression pills. You know what I mean? Because we are fixated on these devices that literally run our lives at this point. For me, I don't settle for that. I disconnected. I disconnected for it's been about 2 weeks now, honestly, that I just disconnected from all everything. You know what I mean? And to the chagrin possibly of some friends and family and whatnot. But hey, this is for my health. This is for my mental stability. This is for my sustainability. This is for my longevity. It's okay to disconnect. It is not an obligation for you to be at the beck and call of anybody and everybody at any given time. Your life is your life, and you are not owned by anybody or anything. You can disconnect whenever you want, especially if it's for your mental health. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, vibe of the week is disconnecting and getting back to a sense of self, getting back to a sense of your maker, and getting back to a sense of the earth and nature that we live within, the environment that we live within. These devices, these electronic devices ain't nothing. Okay? We all need to return back to the natural state of our existence, or at least give that more focus and attention than we have been over the past few decades. So every once in a while, it's a good idea to fast, not only from certain foods, but it's a good idea to fast from certain technologies. And that's my vibe of the week, disconnecting.
I love that. Okay. Yeah. Disconnecting, unplugging. I actually practice that myself. Just I'm good for deleting social media, disappearing. Um, my vibe of the week actually ties into yours a little bit, Chris, because mine is awareness. So I want to bring up awareness in just multiple aspects because, it's really disheartening when I look online and I see that there are people being murdered for senseless crimes. I feel like if awareness was brought into the picture, there would be less crimes committed or not being able to be done because people would be a little bit more aware, like not in their phones. There's a lot of people missing, getting just picked up off the street and snatched up, grown ass people, not even children, grown ass people, because they're not aware of their surroundings. They're not aware of what they're doing. So when you bring this awareness, this is how you bring a sense of purpose to what you're doing every single time. So you're not just doing mindless activities. A lot of mindless activities do happen on the phone when you're scrolling. What are you bringing into your environment? Are you aware of what's going into your subconscious? Are you aware of how you're speaking to people after you're actually digesting this information? Chris, is like what you said, it's not just the food intake, it's actually what we're taking into our mental. So just being aware of those things, aware of our surroundings, aware of our emotions. I feel like my energy has been heightened with that. And because I've been, I guess I've been nurturing my sense of awareness a little bit more. I feel like I'm making better decisions. One of those awareness tactics is unplugging. I told myself, I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
After like 10 o'clock, no later than 11, I need to eliminate that blue screen because that shit is keeping me up. And I know it's the reason why sometimes I'm tired. Me being aware of it, simply being aware of it, even if I don't change it that day, I've already put it in my psyche. So now
Yeah.
the next day I'm going to be bringing more awareness to it. Eventually, I'm going to put some action towards that. So
Yeah.
that's mine. That's my vibe of the week.
Yeah, I love that vibe of the week, man. Awareness is such a discounted quality in
Yeah,
people. Um, and not it's I can't even put into words how valuable it is. You know what I mean? Not only like for instance, you remember that superhero Daredevil?
I
He was
do, but
blind.
I
He was
never
blind.
really.
He was blind, so he had to rely
Mm,
on his sense of hearing to kind of create the world around him. So,
mm,
but he was aware his antennas was up.
right.
I mean, his antennas was up, and we all need that. You know what I mean? Because if your awareness is up, you can avoid a lot of the situations that we end up in.
Yeah, really.
Just being
Just
aware.
simply practicing that. Yeah. So I totally agree. Blacksmiths, put that into effect, unplug, be aware about unplugging, put your phone on airplane mode when you go to sleep. You'll sleep better. Thank me later.
Yes, 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 yes. Well, yeah, I appreciate you for bringing that vibe of the week to our consciousness, Miss Joy,
I appreciate
LG.
yours.
I appreciate you for being the excellent co-host that you are, and
Yes.
Bronze community, Blacksmith community. I'm so happy that we are getting a chance to continue in this new Gregorian calendar year that we're in. It's in the dead of the winter, so let's use our community. Let's bind together in order to get us through this dark, bitter, cold season that
Medieval.
we're in, until the sun comes back out to greet us again. So I appreciate all of y'all, Blacksmiths, and we'll see y'all again next time on the Bronze.
Peace.